What's up guys, LordDesert here. Ever since the success of Colossus, many of you have been asking for yet another large group base design. To that end, I was intensively working on a number of large group bases, which at the end of the day never seemed to make the cut. Completely dissatisfied with the results, I came to a sudden realization that sometimes large group bases are not all about efficiency and intricate designs, and instead the most basic solution might be the answer. In this context, the classic 5x5 is the most common all-square design for many large groups, and it has been known and used by the Rust community for quite some time. Its appeal lies in spacious and simplistic design that provides time-tested and robust online raid defense elements. On the other hand, being an all-square base, a 5x5 is relatively expensive and weak in terms of pure rocket defense. This alone testifies that efficiency and costs are rarely a concern for an active group that is ready to survive and dominate the server. With that in mind, I present to you my take on the most popular all-square large clan base designs that I call the Padre. The design is most suited for an active 12-man group that typically finds himself defending an online raid. It utilizes multi-TC concept combining a total of 9 TCs where 4 sides and 4 corner TCs shape the shooting floors and peaks and serve as a miniature flanking or furnace bases. In this design, each external TC is protected behind an armored door and a vending machine. This trick was originally shown to me by a player called Crisp. Using this trick, the TC is easily accessible and is protected by approximately 13 rockets up front. Note however that the armored door may be damaged using explosive ammo, leaving the TC vulnerable to explosives and incendiary rockets. On the other hand, using explosives and incendiaries might not be that convenient during an online raid, which is what this entire design is maximized for. The main base is accessed through one of the 2 entrances that lead under the internal peaks. From here, 2 entrances on the opposite sides lead into the spacious core that somewhat resembles a classic 5x5 layout. The main TC is on the first floor, where you will find your sleeping bags and main loot rooms. The third floor houses more loot rooms and electricity rooms for internal turrets and lights. The fourth floor houses first set of bedrooms and exits into the internal peaks. Lastly, the fifth and final floor houses more bedrooms and exits into the shooting floor and roof. So without further ado, let's jump into the build. Before I begin, however, I would like to give a special thanks to Evil Wurst, Zedge and LordDesert for invaluable feedback on the design, and to Nagaz, Kosmuso and Legatus for starting in the cinematic. Let us begin building the base from the initial starter. First, find a flat piece of land such as an ice lake or a beach and lay down a 3x3 footprint, making sure that the first foundation is slightly off the ground. Upgrade 3 foundations to stone and surround them with walls as shown. Then place 3 wall frames on the middle foundation, fit them with double doors that open outward to make your first airlock, and then seal the roof. Inside the base, place the TC in the far left corner of the right room and then proceed with the temporary deployables. For now, you can place a level 1 workbench in front of the TC, form a loot room opposite to the TC room, and place a few furnaces and sleeping bags in the middle. Lastly, place a triangle shelf in the TC room and fill it with containers of your choosing. Once you have gathered enough resources, replace all wooden doors with sheet metal double doors and proceed shaping the rest of the first floor. I will leave the roof off for now for demonstration purpose. Upgrade the remaining foundation of the 3x3 and surround them with walls as shown. Then place 2 wall frames fitted with sheet metal double doors facing outwards to form an additional airlock, form 2 more loot rooms at the top and bottom right corners of the base, and lastly, close the loot rooms with sheet metal double doors to form a corridor in the middle. You can now make a temporary furnace room in front of the new entrance and place a research table and sleeping bags in the corridor for the rest of your team. Once you have acquired reinforced glass window and garage door blueprints, expand the starter by forming a shelf chute up to the 2nd floor. Before you begin, replace at least the entrance door with the garage door and then form the chute with the shelf jump up. On the 2nd floor, place a window frame fitted with reinforced glass window to the left, and follow up with 2 more walls, a shelf at half height, and a wall frame with the garage door in front. Place 3 more wall frames in front of the chute and fit them with sheet metal double doors for the time being to form an airlock and assist against potential door campers. Lastly, seal the roof and place stairs at the preferred side of the base for easier access. The starter is now complete. However, you should not rest and quickly proceed claiming the surrounding area, as anyone with enough resources and dedication may stop you from expanding by simply placing TCs all around the base. For this reason, we will continue by building the external TCs. While making the necessary preparations, you should start gradually upgrading the starter to its final tier. Eventually, the entire core should be upgraded to armored. However, if the resources are still scarce, you may choose to upgrade the entire starter to metal for the time being. Let us claim the area and at the same time complete the part of the main footprint. The left and right side external TCs will eventually become main base entrances, so let us start with those. Starting from one side, build out a total of 10 foundations from the center. Break all but the outermost foundation and come back with 4 triangle half moons. Then break all but the last 2 triangle foundations and add additional 3 triangles to form a line of triangles as shown. Upgrade the inner triangles to armored and outer triangles to metal and proceed extending outwards with 5 pairs of square foundations. Then form a 4 triangle cap at the distal end. Note that the middle and leftmost triangles should be armored. To shape the external TC, place 2 armored walls, a triangle floor tile on top, and an armored doorway as shown. Place a TC in the resulting room by pushing it against the right wall and leaving a small gap between the TC and the doorway. You can fit the doorway with the sheet metal door and enclose it with a metal wall on the left, a metal triangle floor on top, and a stone window frame fitted with reinforced glass window in front. Repeat this process on the adjacent side and then 2 more times on the perpendicular sides, only this time keep the 3 middlemost foundations wooden as you will have to pick them out later. Once done, proceed forming 4 additional external TCs by offsetting foundations from 2 adjacent external TCs which will form the entrances into the main base. Starting with one side, offset the foundations as previously described by building out 10 square foundations sideways from the distal end of the external TC as shown. Then come back with 4 triangle half moons and place 3 armored foundations to cap the corner of the main base. Once done, continue building towards the external TC. To do that, use the future entrances as a reference line. Find a corner square and build out a sequence of triangles and square foundations exactly as shown. Then finish the sequence with a 2x2, a 4 triangle cap at the distal end, and form the external TC as previously described. Now mirror these steps on the opposite side across the reference line, and lastly, build 2 more external TCs on the adjacent side to finally complete all 8 external TCs. The area is now claimed, so you can finally focus on expanding the main base. If you haven't done so already, this is the point where you're going to gather enough scrap to build a level 3 workbench and ultimately turn your starter setup into a more secure compound. By now you should have gathered enough resources to upgrade your base, so now is a good time to upgrade the foundations, outer walls and ceilings of the starter to armored, and then add a layer of square honeycomb around the base as shown. In addition to that, upgrade the inner wall guarding the TC to armored as well. Once done, begin forming the second floor. Go up and replace all double doors with garage doors. Then surround the entire second floor perimeter with metal walls and 2 doorways in the opposite corners as shown. Fit the doorway with the sheet metal door for now and shape the airlock by placing a wall in front of the door and a sheet metal double door on the side. The sheet metal doors and double doors should eventually be replaced with armored counterparts. Now form a chute at the opposite side to the core entrance. Place 2 walls, a shelf for a jump up, and a window frame fitted with a reinforced glass window to the left. Finally, cap the chute on the 3rd floor by placing 3 walls, a shelf at half height, and a wall frame fitted with the garage door in front. The remainder of the 2nd floor may be formed in the following way. First, seal the backs of the chutes and add internal metal honeycomb on the perpendicular sides. You may choose to move the furnace room from downstairs to the rooms closest to the outside entrances, and then form 4 additional loot rooms at the top right and bottom left corner of the base as shown. Finally, fill the remaining slots with metal wall frames and garage doors and seal the roof, making sure that the ceiling of the original 3x3 outline is armored. Your level 2 and level 3 workbenches may be placed flush against the walls on the adjacent sides of the 2nd floor. In addition to that, there is now plenty of space to replace your research table and place other deployables like a repair bench and lockers all around the base. Lastly, you can place ladders or oil refineries in front of the base entrances to be able to get inside the base. The first expansion of the base is complete, so you can start planning for the next build stage. With the level 3 workbench in place, this is the perfect time to start compounding the area and turning your external TCs into flanking and furnace bases while at the same time making them stronger. There are many techniques and tricks for building a compound. For the most basic setup, you may consider shaping your compound in a square with an airlocked external stone gate on each side. To create the airlock gates, stand in front of the external TC and place a square and 2 triangle twig foundations outwards as shown. Using the resulting twig and the adjacent armor wall as a guide, hold and align the external stone gate as close to the twig as possible, making sure that the roof structure of the gate is facing outwards. Once done, open the gate, break the twig foundations, and use the gates as a guide to place an external stone wall between the external TC and the gate to form an airlock. Now repeat this process 3 more times around the base. If you're confident with your wall placement technique, place 6 walls on both sides of the gates in a straight line. However, you may use the following technique to place the walls as straight as possible. Pick a gate and build out 5 triangle foundations from the external TC's outermost triangle as shown. Then follow up with 2 foundations outwards and 9 more foundations to the side. Place a wall on the outermost side of the guide foundation parallel to the gate and deploy a blocker on the center edge of the resulting wall. Once done, break all but the last square foundation that will be used for setting up the guide. Now starting from the gate, place your first external wall as parallel to the gate as possible. Here you can use a metal bar on the gate as a guide for a line in the wall. Once placed, deploy the second blocker in the center of the wall and then connect the 2 deployables using a wire tool. Now you can use the wire as a guide to place 5 remaining walls in a straight line. When making the placement, make sure that the wire remains visible to the entire stretch of the wall, or at least at the leading edge, and does not get engulfed in the blueprint outline. When placing the last 2 walls, simply press them against the twig buildup. You can repeat this process around the base to complete the compound, and then proceed upgrading your external TCs to turn them into furnace or miniature flanking bases. To do that, first replace the sheet metal door guarding the TC with armored door that opens outwards. Then, place a vending machine in front of the armored door right at the center. You can fit a small box in front of the vending machine as well. Do this for all 8 external TCs and then proceed with the upgrades. To build a furnace base, we will start by placing the large furnaces. First, place down 4 metal triangle foundations and 2 layers of stone walls on top as shown, and then proceed placing the large furnaces. The goal is to fit 2 furnaces in 3 square foundation lengths, which was originally shown to me by Vice. Once you have 2 large furnaces placed, destroy the wooden foundations and place 2 more large furnaces on the opposite side. Now surround the TC with metal walls and a garage door in front as shown. To the right of the TC, you can place a locker, or better yet a large battery, and seal it with the window frame and reinforced glass window. Then form a loot room on the neighboring square and place a garage door in front. Once done, seal the roof with corresponding metal tiles and honeycomb the triangle above the TC with metal half walls. To complete forming the large furnace chamber, level the front and back of the base by placing additional stone walls, making sure to place a garage door in front for an entrance. The roof of the furnace chamber may be sealed with respective floor frames and grills, and the sides with high external stone walls. Lastly, place boxes or other deployables in between large furnaces to allow easier movement around them, and then repeat the entire process at the adjacent TC. To build a miniature flanking bases, surround the foundation outline with walls of corresponding tier as shown. Then place a doorway fitted with a sheet metal door in front and a sheet metal double door on the side to form an airlock. Once again, place a locker or a battery to the right of the TC, seal it with window frame and reinforced glass window, and form a loot room in front. Once done, fill the remaining slot inside the base with the garage door and use the open area to place down sleeping bags for yourself and your teammates. Lastly, seal the roof with corresponding tier tiles, honeycomb the triangle above the TC with metal half walls, and then repeat the entire process to upgrade the remaining external TCs. The compound is now more or less complete, with the external TCs now accounting for 23 rocket protection each if rated from the back or the top. However, I should note that it would require only 19 rockets to reach the TC from the left side, as the armor foundation holding the vending machine is exposed. If you see this as a problem, feel free to hide the armor foundation behind a metal triangle foundation like so to slightly increase the rocket protection from this angle. The next building stage will require a good chunk of resources. While waiting for the large furnaces to generate enough metal, we can set up an auto turret perimeter inside a compound. If needed, each external TC is prepared to house a wind turbine and a large battery, which should be enough to run 4 to 5 auto turrets each. For demonstration purposes, however, I will only use 4 TCs to set up straightforward electrical circuits. To that end, deploy your auto turrets all around the compound. Here, I chose to place 10 auto turrets that will be powered from the corresponding external TCs, and 8 more that will be powered from the furnace bases. Starting with one external TC, build up at least 5 or better yet 7 levels of metal wall frames raised from the half-wall honeycomb atop the TC. Once done, cap the framework with 2 floor triangles as shown, and then jump on top. You can place an additional twig triangle to stand on and then deploy the wind turbine with the interface facing towards you. Now connect the turbine to the large battery downstairs and follow the schematic to set up the auto turret network. I suggest deploying your electrical components on the window frame guarding a large battery, as this is the least likely wall to be destroyed during a raid. Now proceed building the wind turbines and connecting the auto turrets as described, and you should soon have a relatively secure compound. By this time you should have gathered enough resources to proceed to the next building stage, where we will focus on expanding and completing the main base core. While making the necessary preparations, replace all sheet metal doors and double doors guarding the two main base entrances with their armored counterparts. Once ready, go up to the roof and surround the perimeter with a layer of metal walls. As before, form a metal chute leading up to the next floor opposite to the current roof entrance, and place internal honeycomb on the middle side squares. Then, use the resulting area to form loot rooms or even electricity rooms. Here, I chose two opposite rooms that will house the main batteries and electrical circuits for running main base auto turret network, lighting and more. I will come back to this at the end of the video. Lastly, fill the remaining slots with garage doors, seal the roof and proceed to the next floor. While you are free to design the different floors the way you like, I suggest to use the next two floors for bedrooms, as these will become the entry points for internal and external peek downs, the shooting floor and the roof. To start off, make a chute to the next floor as previously described. And then surround the two perpendicular sides with metal walls and seal them with wall frames and garage doors as shown. These will become the first bedrooms. Now finish closing the perimeter with wall frames and fit them with shop fronts and armored double doors in the middle. These will become the entry points to the internal peaks. To prevent easy splash damage into the bedrooms, I suggest placing two doorways on each bedroom side as shown. You are free to fit them with doors and spam garage doors everywhere else. However, make sure to keep an eye on the upkeep. Once the 4th floor is complete, repeat the process on the 5th floor, only this time, instead of a chute leading up to the roof, build a simple loot room for drop chests. Then proceed building the bedrooms as previously described and seal the remaining perimeter with wall frames fitted with shop fronts and garage doors as shown. Lastly, place doorways on each bedroom side as previously described, place additional garage doors where appropriate, and then seal the roof. Ideally, the entire roof should be upgraded to armored. The main base solid core is now complete. However, it is quite exposed as it lacks online raid mitigation elements. For this reason, you should gather enough resources and prepare for the next and final expansion, where we will build the peaks, the shooting floor, and access to the roof. Since structures from all 8 external TCs and the main base must be built in full and come together to form functional peaks, there is no obvious or logical sequence of building them. Starting with the main base, add metal floor tiles and wall frames on each side of the base as shown. Then, starting from one of the corner TC's distal armor foundation, build up the following structure. On one of the sides, place a metal doorway, a wall, and a window frame on top, and then repeat it on the other side. You can fit the doorways with sheet metal doors that open outwards for strategic sectioning. At the bit, build 2 sets of 2 wall frames and then a set of window frames on top to level the structure. Once done, place 3 sets of 2 wall frames on the center foundation, and then 1 more wall frame fitted with the garage door leading towards the external TC. Now place 3 more metal triangle foundations outwards and form 3 levels of metal honeycomb on top. Inside the structure, form a metal shelf at half height intersecting the window frames. This may be done by building twig from the outside to create the half height socket. Once complete, place an additional floor tile on the center square and a floor tile overhang on each side of the structure. For the time being, place twig tile to level the floor and break the twig on the outside. Now finish building the chute, and then cap off the remaining 3 of the metal honeycombs. For the 2 final levels, build 2 sets of 4 stone wall frames outlining the distal edge, and then 2 metal wall frames in front of the chute. The 2 corner stone wall frames may be fitted with sheet metal double doors for strategic sectioning. Once in place, seal off the 4th floor with metal wall frames and floor tiles. On the 5th floor, once again place some metal floor tile overhangs on each side of the structure and fit the stone wall frames with garage doors so that the bulky part is facing towards the gaps. Follow up with 3 window frames and a doorway on the right side. Fit the window frames with reinforced glass windows and a doorway with an armored door and proceed shaping the roof access. Form a stone shelf on the corner square and place a window frame fitted with reinforced window bar to the left and a wall frame fitted with the garage door right in front. Then jump up on the shelf and place 2 metal walls in the right corner, a floor tile on top, and then 1 more floor tile at the half height of the metal walls. Lastly, seal the roof with metal tiles, making sure that they clip on the external TC, and then repeat the process on the remaining 3 corners. For the side TC build-up, we can start with the 2 sides that will contain the main entrances. Begin by placing 3 doorways leading from right outermost triangle foundation towards inner center triangle foundation as shown, and fit them with armored doors so that the middle door forms an airlock towards the outside. Then build 3 levels of metal honeycomb and cap the tops with triangle floor tiles where appropriate. Once done, enclose the 4th floor with metal walls, and 5th floor with window frames fitted with reinforced glass windows. Lastly, to make the entrances a bit more flexible, enclose the first 2 square foundations with stone window frames, a doorway at the front left, and a wall frame in the middle. You can fit the window frames with reinforced glass windows and wooden shutters on the inside, and then form an airlock by fitting a sheet metal door and a double door in the respective slots. The empty triangle is a good spot for a locker. Enclose it with a metal floor triangle on top and a stone window frame with reinforced glass window and horizontal embrasure in front, and then finally seal the roof. Repeat this process on the opposite side, and for the remaining 2 sides simply skip the entrances and build a solid honeycomb instead. The main base is now almost complete. The only thing that is missing is a shooting floor and perhaps even a humble battlement on the roof. To that end, go into the 5th floor and make the following build-up. Place a metal triangle at the door, 2 metal wall frames under to the right for support, and then follow up with 3 more metal triangles. Now place 3 floor tiles in the center, making sure that they clip on the side and not the center TC. Then follow up with 4 more floor triangles on the other end. Once done, place 3 doorways where shown and fit them with sheet metal doors that open towards the gaps. Lastly, seal the perimeter with window frames fitted with vertical metal embrasures, and then roof with corresponding floor tiles. To prevent easy access from the top, place siren lights atop the left and middle sheet metal doors like so, and then repeat the entire process on the remaining 3 sides to complete the shooting floor. On top of the roof, you can place slanted roofs facing outwards. First, place the roofs on the corner TC sides, and then place the middle roofs, making sure that they clip onto the main base. Continue placing the roofs as described, and you should now have yourself a simple battlement. Note, however, that these will easily collapse once the main base solid core is breached. If you see this as a drawback, consider building an alternative battlement to suit your needs. The base is now fully built, and the only thing that is left to do is to reinforce it with auto turrets and additional upgrades. For one, the corners of the main base are ideal locations to raise 4 additional wind turbines. I suggest building them a bit higher up to get more consistent power output. Each of these turbines may power its separate circuits. As an example, here's a schematic for a single turbine that feeds into the large battery and includes 2 automatic backup generators. 4 of these circuits may be fitted into 2 separate rooms and easily power a total of 12 turrets and numerous other appliances. With this setup, I recommend placing the auto turrets at the 4 corners of the base, on the roof, inside the internal peaks, and on the ground floor. There are also a few places throughout the base that may be reinforced by upgrading the metal parts to armored, namely the 2 first center walls of the internal peak downs, which will assist with stability during a breach. In addition to that, the entire core perimeter may be upgraded to armored as well. A fair warning, however, this will push the upkeep cost of the core to 500 plus HQM per day. Lastly, note that the shooting floors and the internal peaks that belong to the side TCs are the biggest weakness during an online raid, as they will easily collapse once the walls supporting the shooting floors are destroyed. For this reason, you may consider a little bit less flexible but more robust alternative. In this version, even the internal peak downs are honeycombed, and the shooting floor makes use of the double doors and triangle frames to create the peak down gaps. And there you have it, my take on all-square base design with convenient and spacious layout and online raid defense capacities, which will hopefully make every large group's dream come true. Bear in mind that this is only a standard build that may be improved and modified in many ways, and that will largely depend on your imagination, dedication, and available resources. So if you like what you saw, do not forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And whether you did or didn't enjoy the video, please do leave a comment in the comment section below, as I would really like to know what you think. As always, this was Rust Daddy, and may the next wipe be ever in your favor.